Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. This past week, the Bronx Economic Development Corporation, in conjunction with the New York Power Authority, announced the winner of a new concept. It's called the Bronx Green Action Challenge. That awards a cool $1 million to a Bronx college or university to create a cleaner and greener campus. The winner of the first ever Bronx Green Action Challenge is Bronx Community College. And along with the BXEDC, they're here to boast a little bit about winning the challenge, but more importantly, to talk about their plans to greenify BCC. So please join me in welcoming into the studio the Director of Outreach for the BXEDC, Marshall Strawbridge. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And joining us on Skype, he's over there at BCC, the Environmental Health and Safety Officer at Bronx Community College. It is Femi Falade. Mr. Falade, nice to have you with us, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're so proud of you and proud of Bronx Community College for your achievement, and certainly getting a little extra funding for important things is great. Mr. Strawbridge, let's just start with you. Bronx Green Action Challenge. Let's just talk about how it happened,
Sure.
Where it came from, what was the role of BXEDC in this process to help our friends at BCC get some funding.
Absolutely. So the story of the Green Action Challenge actually sort of goes back to my earliest times here at BXEDC in February of this year. So when I joined, one of the objectives that I was given from our president, Rob, and from the borough president was to identify how Bronx EDC can do a better job of leveraging the institutions of higher ed in the Bronx as anchor institutions and using them as partners in our economic development initiatives. And from that work, we identified a number of things that we could be doing, especially around workforce development. But as I was sort of knee deep in that, we discovered resources that have been awarded to us through NYPA, specifically for—
Well, let's just be clear, NYPA is the New York Power Authority.
That's right. So we identified those resources that were available specifically for environmental sustainability initiatives. And so we saw that as a way of taking the first step in putting a lot of the planning that we have been doing around working with higher ed institutions and turn that into action. And thus the Green Action Challenge was born with really two objectives. One was to strengthen our partnerships with the institutions of higher ed, like I said, and give them a message that the Bronx EDC is here and looking to partner. And the other is to obviously make a significant investment in environmental sustainability.
So just to understand it, the New York Power Authority had, in a way, a general funding source for green initiatives in different counties in the state. I'm just guessing, and then you correct me if I'm wrong. And then you folks said, well, we have a way to use this money. And then it was the Bronx EDC that came up with the idea, let's use Bronx universities to do this.
That's correct. And the point of making it a challenge was we wanted to inspire all the colleges to develop what would be $1 million plans for environmental sustainability and pick the best one. So we have one that was a winner, but we also have 6 others who responded to this challenge, who all also submitted really great proposals.
It's one of the things that I think is overlooked when things like this happen, is that the implications of it or the state of mind of it. Now, all of a sudden, administrators at Bronx colleges and universities are starting to think, well, you know what? Well, we didn't get the grant, but this might be composting, might be something we can do, or a little better recycling. And we're going to talk to BCC about all the things. I guess that's part of it.
That was exactly our intention. So now we still have work to do in terms of promoting the 6 other plans that the colleges submitted to us and trying to get those funding, because they're all really great ideas.
It is the borough of universities. Do you want to mention the 6? Or is it not fair to do that at this, or even put you on the spot? I don't know.
So we heard from all the CUNYs. So
Okay.
Bronx Community College, Lehman College, Hostos,
Okay.
the 3 private institutions,
Fordham,
Manhattan College, Fordham, and the College of Mount St. Vincent,
and Mount St. Vincent.
and then the SUNY school, SUNY Maritime.
Wow. I think it's great. And what was interesting, and I know Rob Walsh, who's the president of the Economic Development Corp, really believes that colleges and universities are ways of spreading this kind of advocacy without standing up and shaking fists, but this is really doing it through education.
That's
It
right.
is the borough of universities. I'm not going to do it tonight, but who can name, what do we got, 13, 14 in the Bronx?
13.
Challenge yourself, folks at home. Anyway, let's say hello to Mr. Falade. Congratulations on winning the challenge. We're going to break it down, but why do you think BCC won? Talk a little bit, if you would, about your commitment to, I use the word greenifying, toward making Bronx Community College more environmentally friendly.
So, good evening. Thank you for inviting me once again. To answer the first question, why did BCC win? We have a very committed team here that's committed to environmental sustainability. And this is something that we've been working on for quite a while. We meet regularly to talk about the various initiatives that we can implement to reduce the carbon footprint of our college. And so when we heard about this grant, we just decided to lay down a plan that we've been talking about all this while and present it. So I would say we won because this is something that's dear to us. We have a lot of professionals that are already doing things in the green area. We are already doing things in the green area, but we have some limitation in front of funding, and the grant really gives us an opportunity to implement what we've been discussing and working on already.
I think it's interesting, when we found out you were coming onto the program, I saw your title, the Environmental Health and Safety Officer. I wonder how many colleges, not only in the Bronx, but all over the country, have somebody with that title. That demonstrates the kind of commitment that you have just talked about, that they put somebody to be involved in just that kind of agenda.
So yes, all across the CUNY campuses, we have individuals that are in this role that are responsible for implementing environmental initiatives. So, for instance, I'm the sustainability co-chair for the college as well. So across all the CUNY campuses, we have EHS directors, and we also have sustainability directors. However, on this campus, I combine both roles.
There you go.
And, yes, we have individuals across CUNY colleges.
I did note that going back to, and just to use what you said, for example, in December of 2022, you received $8 million in prize money to enable first case study for a large-scale school bus electrification program, which now, of course, the mayor is squawking about. So this has been in BCC for a period of time. Before we break down what's going to happen with this, are there other initiatives that you have worked on over the years over at BCC?
So the main project that we're working on right now is recycling. Recycling of glass, plastics, and paper wastes. That's something that we are looking to expand on with this grant that we've received. But yes, recycling is one of the initiatives we've been working on. Also, switching to green chemicals, because we use a lot of chemicals within the campus, and switching to greener chemicals are one of the initiatives we've been working on.
That's very impressive. And I know when I go somewhere, whether it be to a college, BronxNet Studios, of course, at Lehman College, or anywhere, to an airport, and I don't see a separate area for paper goods and regular refuse, it's very frustrating, and because it's a relatively simple thing to do. And of course, if you expand recycling programs, then you're also creating jobs. I mean, there's many ways to do this. We're going to put up a list of some of the things that BCC has been talking about. Let's just start with the saving of 2 million gallons of water. low flush toilets. So you're basically going to replace all the toilets in the bathrooms? Is it as simple?
So, yes.
I say as simple as that?
So on our campus, we have 34 buildings, and that gives us a lot of opportunity to be able to save a lot of water use from bathroom usage. So we're gonna start small. We're gonna start with a couple of buildings, and we're gonna expand that.
Wow.
So by the time we implement this initiative across all our 34 buildings, then that's a lot of water.
A lot of water.
We will be conserved and saved it. Yes.
Let's just look at some others. Now, the composting, 900,000 pounds of food waste. So you will then participate in that with the city's composting program, which is rather extensive right now?
Yes. So we have a cafeteria on campus that we plan to start this initiative out of. We plan to implement this initiative out of. It gives us a lot of opportunity to use our food waste, the food, instead of just throwing them out in regular trash, which eventually ends up in a landfill. It gives us an opportunity to take that and work with the city sanitation department to turn this waste into compost. That's the plan we have right now. As we move on, as we expand the program, we can actually do our composting on site.
Good.
Well.
I want to do two more. We'll talk about that's on the list: reducing flooding and reducing plastic use. You'll just find, certainly as far as plastics, other ways to handle the plastic forks and knives or whatever else it is that people use on campus.
So, yes, so one of the things we are doing is we're trying to encourage the use of reusable materials. We're trying to encourage the use of reusable utensils like water jugs, food utensils as well. And also, we'll be working with the food vendors to make sure that whatever materials that whatever food or plastic materials they use are such that we are able to either recycle them or encourage individuals to actually bring their utensils when coming to the cafeteria. But more than likely, we would have to work with the food vendors to have a collection for the plastic waste that we use in our.
I want to bring Mr. Strawbridge back into the conversation. After all, it's a college. And so not only will they make the changes, but all the students at Bronx Community College will see it. And then, of course, you'd like to think that it starts people thinking, and that's how we kind of, right? I'm on the right path.
You're absolutely on the right track, Gary. And I would add to that, they're not only going to see it, they're going to participate in it. One of the
that's a
proposals
very
that
good
you
point.
didn't mention is the Clean Energy Demonstration Program. And so that's going to be solar and wind energy installations that will not only generate power, but will also be used to as a training ground for their students to get them certified in clean energy.
But you know, it's interesting what you say. It gets the students in the habit of using it. So if they know that they're composting, let's say in the cafeteria, oh, okay, we put our organic refuse here.
That's right.
When they go home,
there you go.
It will be there somewhere in college. Nobody could be more annoying than college students, let's face it. My interns here are all laughing. But they're going to come home and say, hey, mom and dad, we ought to do this. Or,
That's
hey,
right.
friends, I'm throwing a party. This is where because there's a brown composting bin in my building.
That's right.
So to me, part of the brilliance of this is not just working with companies or organizations. It's kind of like planting a seed, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's bring Mr. Falade back into the conversation. The list says launching a Green Jobs training program. Let's talk about that. Is that a curricular program, or is it kind of an extra thing that students can participate? How is the Green Jobs training program going to work?
So we have a workforce development department within our campus where individuals are able to acquire skills to help them get back into the workforce or help them get new opportunities in the workforce. So with this grant, we'll be pushing green skills. We'll be pushing a lot of green skills, green certifications, such that they're able to look for green jobs once they're done with this programs.
I just breezed over the reduced flooding. Let's talk about creating the rain gardens that you're going to create to address flooding and erosion. That to me is also fascinating.
Yes, so on campus, we have a lot of flood-prone areas, especially on a section of campus. We have a particular a large piece of land that anytime it rains, there's erosion that falls, that takes away the topsoil and results in trees falling and damages to the perimeter fence and even cars around that. So that's a prime location where we can put a giant, a widespread rain garden to stop the erosion from flooding.
You know, I really love what Mr. Strawbridge said about, you know, the concept of educating students about this, because they will see all this. And, you know, every homeowner deals with this kind of erosion. And many of the students, God willing, will graduate. Maybe they'll buy a home. And then they'll say, oh, I remember this from my college. And maybe they're studying philosophy, or maybe they're studying technology, but it still will be in. I mean, there's a brilliance here that I think we all will really appreciate. I mean, that we're going to plant the seed and spread it. If you would, Mr. Strawbridge, just talk a little bit about the philosophy behind it and other initiatives. I mean, I'm sure this is not the end of the program. Are we going to do this again next year? Are you going to maybe expand the concept to other either institutions or other? Just talk about the Rob's vision, the borough president's vision, and your vision on how this is going to work.
We're, in terms of what the target institution will be for in the future, we're leaving our options open. It may be going back to the colleges.
Oh, I want it next year. I want it the year after, and I want. That's Gary.
I'm in the same boat as you. So what we're working on right now is sending the rest of the proposals to the New York Power Authority, saying, look, we picked a really great proposal, but we also have 6 other great ones. And if they want to go back at the institutions of higher ed and do another college-focused Green Action Challenge, that's great. But we're keeping our options open. But we certainly want to keep doing initiatives like this in years to come.
When news of funding like this comes out, and you say $1 million, and people hear millions and billions all the time, and budgets and all that, I guess they don't quite realize, and that's why it was so important to hear what Mr. Falade has been talking about. They don't quite realize the implications of what $1 million, I mean, we all know what it might mean to us individually, but
Sure.
what it could mean. He talked about replacing toilets. Maybe they had that idea 3 years ago, but, you know, CUNY budgets are not what they probably should be. And this was a way of doing it. I mean, it's a lot of money. And I guess you're probably thrilled with the New York Power Authority. You think there's more? I'm so greedy.
I sure hope so.
I'm so greedy. It's terrible.
No, I sure hope so. And the benefit of an award of this size is that it really allows us to make an investment that's going to have a sustained impact on a single institution. And that's one of the things that really stood out about Bronx Community College's application is the infrastructure investments, the programmatic investments that they're making are going to be things that aren't just one-off things that they'll do this year, but they'll have a lasting impact on the institution and allow them to keep this going for a while.
Well, one of the things, Mr. Falade, that I did not ask you about is the whole idea of solar. There apparently will be some solar roofing demonstrations, wind and solar and wind turbine training. Talk to me about that and how it's going to work. Do you need to put some infrastructure in place to do that? Tell me how that's going to work. And again, I'm looking at the $1 million and clicking off where, how long it's going to last. But just talk about solar and the wind and turbine training and all those kinds of things.
So we have two plans for the solar program. We have solar roofs, and we have a program to install solar panels.
Let me just ask you, you currently have solar roofing at Bronx Community College?
We do not currently have it,
Do not.
but
Okay.
we already are working on it. The sustainability department from CUNY Central is already talking with, I don't know the name of that group, but
That's
we
okay.
have a plan, and we already did some assessment as to the quantity of power that can be generated. So as I was saying, we have the solar roof plan, and we have plans to install solar panels on parking lots. So
Wow.
for instance, yes. So we're going to be, when this is implemented, we'll be able to generate 1.2 megawatts of power, I believe. And in one of our buildings here on campus, we'll be able to generate enough energy such that it equals to the amount of power that would be needed for 100 buildings in New York City.
Wow.
So-
So you would be able to generate power from BCC to be used elsewhere, or are you using it as a demonstration to others?
It's just the quantity of power we'll be able to generate from just one of the buildings that will be installing the solar roof. And for the car park where we'll be installing the solar powers, we'll be able to generate even a lot more from this
Wow.
project.
I mean, I don't want to go too far, but that power could be sold and become an income for CUNY and BCC.
Potentially, yes.
Sorry, I
yes,
didn't mean to exclaim. That's a wonderful thing, and what a wonderful example for not only other institutions of higher learning, but to students as well. I'm just checking the boxes. Win, 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 win. This just sounds fantastic.
It is a big win for the Bronx community at large, because the college right here, it represents so many communities across the nation that if we will successfully implement this initiative, it can serve as a model not only in New York City and not only in New York State, and
Wow.
potentially across the nation as well.
It's
So
just
this is a big win for everyone.
it's great, and what really I heard something here tonight that really excites me, and that is the idea that yes, okay, the college won it, but I'm thinking of all the thousands of CUNY students who are participating. Mrs. Strawbridge, I noticed that my friend Paul Lipson of Barreto Bay Strategies was one of the judges. Then also Victoria Cerullo, who's a senior advisor to First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, was a judge. And I hope I don't mispronounce it, Kayla Mensah, Vice President of Environmental Justice at the New York Power Authority, were other judges in this. But the presence of Mr. Lipson is very interesting to me, because this takes, and I just know because I've been covering this for many years, what people in Hunts Point and people who have been talking about these things for a very long time, it actually moves it forward. I mean, to me, as somebody who's sat here for decades and seen people talking about this, this is a great way to spread the theories, right?
That's right. I don't think you can talk about expertise in environmental sustainability in the Bronx and not talk about Paul Lipson. And
he's going to kill me for bringing this up, but that's
the many contributions he's made to the borough on that front. But I think to all of the judges, brought to the table a really high level of expertise in this issue, and we're really thankful to the level of seriousness they put towards getting this right. I was in the room for parts of their deliberation, and what was clear to me is they all took it very serious to make sure that they picked the right school, and I certainly don't envy their position in having to pick one.
Mr. Falade, before we run out of time, talk is cheap, but now the work begins, sir. What's the first thing you're going to work on? Do you have a staff to work with? I mean, it can't be you unscrewing the toilets all over the campus. I mean, how's this going to work? You got the infrastructure, or now you have to put the infrastructure in place? Just give us a clue on that before we let you go.
Absolutely, you're right. So we'll be working a lot with the facilities planning. So we have a group on campus that's called the facilities planning. And the first step that we're going to do is, now that we have this funding, we're going to go back to the drawing board and say that, how do we want to proceed? We have a plan already, but now that we have the funding, we're going to revise the plan and we're going to update it. And then we're going to go to the facilities planning. We're going to go to the academics department as well. And we're going to say, okay, where do we start from? How do we implement this? It's not going to be a one-person thing to implement this. It's going to be a collaborative effort from the presidents to the vice presidents to even the individuals that will be actually doing the work, picking up the trash and doing all that.
BCC has a new president, Milton Santiago. Please tell Dr. Santiago that BronxNet and Gary sends regards. And he must be thrilled. What a great project to work on. Thank you so much for joining us. Femi Falade from Bronx Community College. And Marshall Strawbridge, thank you so much. Just to let people know, the money was there, and you and Rob and the borough president really worked together to put it together. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Folks, I guess that will do it. We thank our producer, Rebecca Hemick. She's upstairs. The director is Will Guzman. We have a cast of thousands of wonderful young people working with us in the studio. And of course, to you, thank you for joining us. Congressman Adriano Espaillat will be our guest next week. So if the curtain don't fall, the creek don't rise, we'll be here next week. Good night.